Testing. 1, 2.
Didn't you say? Yeah, but
He doesn't have it on.
Oh,
He can hear you though.
okay.
That's,
Comes
that's
through okay.
becoming a thing. I've seen a lot more galleries that have coffee machines and stuff.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I think one's missing on that end.
I know last year for me,
Doug? They're requesting you to come up.
How do you turn that?
Pickup should be. I mean,
Russ, could you please find a seat? Not feeling good. You want to take my spot? Push to talk. All right, if we'll go ahead and get started here, if everybody will find a seat, we'll be out of here in 7 or 8 hours. So, first off, good evening, welcome for being here, and this is a first, the first of its kind symposium, where we're going to bring miners, lapidaries, collectors, dealers, scientists, and even more folks to the table and talk about the finer details of turquoise. Most of you probably know who I am, but for those 3 or 4 that don't, my name is Brandon Vogt, and I'm a talk radio host here in Albuquerque at News Radio KKOB 96.3, the old 770 AM. It's still there. And I'll be the MC for tonight, amateur talk radio host, full-time rancher. And what they pay me, it is amateur at the radio station. So, but I live out in the East Mountains and have a little ranch and run some cattle and paying a lot of money to keep those cattle for whatever reason. I still do that. But glad to be here today and be a part of this. Now, of course, I gave you my credentials. I feed cows and I'm on the radio. So why would I be a part of this symposium here with Turquoise with all of the industry leaders from around the world? Well, that's exactly why. I know absolutely nothing about turquoise. It's not my field, so I have no idea what's going on here. So I'm going to be pretty impartial, and my job to kind of moderate a discussion a little bit later, a conversation that all of these folks will be having later today. I mean, if I ran, I know a little bit more about turquoise now after, Jacob and being friends with him for several years. But I mean, if I ran over a hunk of turquoise on my property, I would just say, cool rock, I would have no idea. But so tonight we have a very impressive collection of attendees, of course, and folks that will be here on the panel. Nearly 15 collectors, 20 dealers, handful of lapidaries, and a few imitation developers and some appraisers, and over 30 customers, not to mention representatives from 12 U.S. states. Some states we still claim, thanks, and 4 countries. And this is the first year of the Turquoise United, and this has been a pretty impressive turnout. So give your folks a round of applause for being here and participating in this first of its kind symposium. Couple of things. We'll talk about the panel for this evening and that term united, and Turquoise United, that's why we're all here, implies a group of people from many different walks of life that come together. And boy, is that on display here with the turquoise community. And we'll see that today. And our panelists represent each specialty in the turquoise industry and united together for the good of turquoise. Just like many others in turquoise, our panelists are not all devoted to one specialty. They probably have their hand in many different things, and they represent a specific specialty today. And their comments will come from the entirety of their experience. So let me introduce you to the panelists tonight. And first off, if I mispronounce somebody's name or a term in gemology, let me apologize first. I'm an Okie, okay? Okie is my first language. So I have trouble with the English language as a whole and with names too. But first off, no particular order with our panelist representing the appraisers. Mark Body is here. Let's give Mark a round of applause. He grew up in the Indian arts business and for over 50 years has run the shop that his father started back in 1949. 50 years. You really want me to say that? Like, I should have checked that. And we need to pull that back to maybe 30 years, right? Yeah, okay. Mark works directly with contemporary native artists with stores in Tucson and Santa Fe. He's an appraiser, a researcher, a lecturer, an author with a number of books and articles, both popular and professional. To his credit, 2022 marks his 50th year doing what he loves. And I wonder, Mark, do you appraise cattle too? Or anything I could use? Does appraisal just go for turquoise, or are there other things that you also appraise?
Well, if I can divide the cattle by the number of fillets in it, I can probably give you a number.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Also, for your panelists, if you want to talk, and feel free to, just hit the push button. Don't pull it, push it. And then that light will come on, and we'll be able to hear everybody. Tonight's artist is Shane Hendren. Let's give it up for Shane. Right here. Shane has dedicated the last 30 years, again, Shane, can I just say 15? Because that ages you when we say 30. The last 30 years into developing his skills as a metalsmith, focusing his production on jewelry. Over the years, his work has matured and improved to the point that it is his primary vocation and how he provides for his family. He brings the metalsmith and retail artist perspective to the panel, And one of the things I'm learning about Turquoise is how much family matters to you guys, and across the world and with different disciplines within Turquoise, you guys have a real sense of community about each other, which is really nice as I observed this week. All right, our next collector this evening, Abby Flythe. Let's hear it for Abby. There she is. And she's a collector. She's been collecting turquoise since she was 7. She's collected rough and cut stones as well as finished metal jewelry set with turquoise. Abby brings an eye for the specialized to the panel. And I hear, Abby, there's a word that you say better than anyone in the world. Could you tell us what that is, Abby? Yeah. There you go.
Whoops, this is Joe Dane's favorite word. Fabulous.
Great. I hope we have a fabulous time tonight, and I know we will. Thanks, Abby. Representing the imitation developers, Mike Budick. Mike, let's hear it for Mike. How do you say fabulous, Mike?
I can neither confirm nor deny those allegations.
That's right. Everybody feels like they're at a Senate hearing, right? Mike treats turquoise and has developed his own creation called the cultured turquoise. Mike brings the perspective of imitations and mass production to the panel. We look forward to hearing from him tonight as well. Also tonight we have Ty Gibson representing the Lapendaries. Let's hear it for Ty. He's been cutting turquoise for 33 years. He learned at the foot of his father, Rick, how to select, grade, shape, and polish the gemstone turquoise. And hopefully his questions don't cut too deep tonight, right? Okay. I didn't write that. This guy did. Right over here. Jacob Lowry. Throw your rotten fruit at him. Also, when they said they had a minor coming tonight, that's why kids were on the discussion panel, right? Doug's never heard that before. I remember we're talking about a rock, and Doug Magnus is with us, a legend in the industry. Doug operates and preserves the Turquoise Hill and Castellan Mines in the Cerrillos mining area in New Mexico, studying the mining history in the area and preserving the historic sites. It's been a passion of Doug's, and he brings a modern and historic miner's perspective to the panel. But, looking at that gray hair, I don't think anybody's going to fault him as being a miner anymore. That's for sure. Also, our scientist tonight, Dr. Tao So. She received her PhD in geology from USC and a gemology bachelor's degree from China University, Geosciences, Beijing. Before joining GIA, she worked briefly at NGTC lab for a year and gained her FGA, DGA, and GG diplomas. Now, I don't know what that is, but I'm sure all of you do that are in this thing. And that is, she's well educated.
There are a lot of G's.
And she's been the technical director for GEMS and geology since she joined GIA in 2012 and serving in various roles in course development and content strategy. She's based in GIA in Carlsbad, California, and she currently serves as the director of gemology content and professional development for GIA education. And I can barely wrap my mind around what her degrees are called, let alone learn one myself. But I will say this, GIA, and everybody here is familiar with that. As start preparing for this, I'd hear that term thrown around. I went to school at Oklahoma State, college at Oklahoma State, and the basketball arena is Gallagher-Iba Arena, named for the great wrestling coach Ed Gallagher and the great basketball coach Hank Iba. And it's referred to as GIA. So, it's a little weird. Maybe 2 or 3 of you got that or understand what I'm talking about. But Dr. Tao, thanks for being here tonight. And also, let me introduce Shalar Zemin-Shami. I told you I'm an Okie. But he has worked in the Iranian mines, marketed and sold Persian turquoise worldwide. 5 days ago, he came here from Iran, now lives in New York. So we're happy to have him here with us today as well. Okay, so tonight you're going to hear a presentation, and he's been working hard all year, maybe for most of his life, into putting this together, the Turquoise United, and he wanted to put this together, something that you would enjoy. And tonight you're going to see his vision for the next 5 years for Turquoise United. As Jacob Lowry. Let's hear it for Jacob. He's the, we were going to have like dancing ladies and a light show, and he was going to come out of the ceiling, but Albuquerque Convention Center wouldn't allow that. So it's going to be a little more muted of an introduction for Jacob. But he does deserve coming out of the ceiling, right? He's the executive director of the Turquoise Museum and host of this year's Turquoise United. He manages the collections, marketing, and daily education on turquoise. He began his turquoise career at a young age, like many of you here in the industry. He was born into a turquoise family and learned the details of breaking rocks when he was 5 and learned what mining actually entailed when he was 16. He began learning lapidary at the age of 9 and educating tourists in the museum since he was 17. And like I mentioned, Jacob's planned many of the details for this year's conference from 2015 through 2019. And as you can see, over the last couple of days, very organized. He's produced and hosted an annual conference for parents with Guillain-Barré syndrome, and he's no stranger to turquoise or conference planning. Jacob seems to be the perfect person to present the future plans for Turquoise United. Ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Lowry.
You know, when you say here to present his 5-year vision, I feel like I'm doing a State of the Union or something.
You're going to sell us some insurance with a 5-year plan, right?
I can do that. So I appreciate everybody coming, and I would like to officially welcome everybody to Turquoise United for the first time. To start tonight off, I want to talk about the place we are in turquoise history tonight. So this is a picture of me when I was 3 to 5. We can't decide on the age of it. And that is me at the enchantment mine, and when I first learned how to break rocks, not learned how to mine. And so I have a simple question for everyone. And yes, I am going to require an actual answer. So when I found my first piece of turquoise when I was that age, was that the first piece of turquoise ever found? Okay. So that was 20-something years ago when I started mining. Mr. Doug Magnus has been mining a little bit longer than I have. I don't want to point out age, but how long have you been mining turquoise, Doug?
I don't remember. It's I started at the Sirius mines in 1973, so that's getting near 50 years ago.
All right.
But my very first mining experiences occurred when I was a mere 4 years old in Silverton, Colorado. Only it had nothing to do with turquoise. But it still was mining, and it was, quite the spark of excitement and wonder.
So 1973, when Doug found the first piece of turquoise he ever found, was that the first piece of turquoise ever found? All right, and then this. Whoop, we missed one. Let's try going back. Nope. Okay, I had a picture in here of Doc Wilson mining a long time ago. When Doc Wilson was around, was that the first piece of turquoise ever found? No. In fact, the first piece of turquoise would look something more like this. And turquoise can trace its history back to Mesopotamia. That means that for 4,000 years, we have had cultures, histories, stories, arts, beliefs, and much, much more that has spanned the entire globe. And each person and culture has paved the way for a very long, incredible road that has led us to tonight. The reason that we are all here tonight is to unite the turquoise community internationally through history in one moment for the future. When registering for the symposium, you had to claim the largest 2 roles you have in the turquoise industry. So when I call your specialties, be proud, act like we're at a high school rally, and cheer for your specialties. So we have miners, lapidaries, scientists, imitations producers, collectors, dealers, researchers, appraisers, and consumers. Now, I would personally like to give all of you a huge round of applause for just coming tonight. But not just for coming tonight, but making the time to grow turquoise, the world of turquoise, for future generations, and for taking your place in the 4,000-year history of turquoise. Now, let's talk a little bit about Turquoise United. We discussed a lot of different options on what to call this event. We talked about the International Turquoise Conference. We talked about we could do Turquoise Con, make it nice and hip. Or we could even do the annual Turquoise Gathering. We talked about a lot of different names. And then we also talked about the purpose of what this conference is here to do. We want to bring the entire world of turquoise together to grow and build the industry. So we started looking up synonyms for togetherness. And somehow we finally landed on united. And as I designed the logo, it's supposed to share the same sentiment, bringing the whole world of turquoise together. Slowly. So next we looked at the first turquoise, what the first Turquoise United would include. A gala, because, we're fancy. And then we also had an auction to give access to the collectibles, a gem show devoted to only turquoise, and, of course, the symposium to grow the knowledge bank of turquoise. Then when we wanted to add some events for the general public. So we added the identification panels, the book signings, and the Q&As to bring in the general public, not just the industry. As we built the symposium, it's very interesting to see the general public want to come and attend as well. So that's why we added a consumer category, because when I told them, no, I'm sorry, you have to be part of the industry to come to the symposium, they said, well, that's rude. I buy turquoise, so I'm part of the industry, so let me come anyway. So we added a consumer part, and that brings in the general public. So we called in invited panelists that not only know about turquoise, but have their own source knowledge on turquoise. We also needed to have every single area of the industry represented. The reason for that is we want this conference to represent everybody in the industry and actually have everybody feel like, even if they're not speaking or they're not the ones interjecting in conversation, a voice similar to theirs is still being heard and is represented. Each aspect of Turquoise United has been carefully planned to build a strong foundation for the future. And speaking of the future, I'm supposed to be speaking of the future. So everyone is supposed to have gotten a booklet when they came in. That goes through the 5-year vision of Turquoise United. And so let's see if I remember where I'm at in my notes. If you didn't get one, raise your hand, and our lovely Nancy will bring you one if you didn't get one on the way in. So Turquoise United is designed to be an annual event that grows each and every year. The final product is going to be something none of us can even imagine or envision right now. Just like the first people who discovered this blue rock had no idea that we would all be sitting here tonight. The general vision of Turquoise United is to bring is to bring a meeting of the minds, bringing all of the players to the table to discuss turquoise. It also is supposed to be a family reunion. So there are a lot of different people in turquoise all over the world, and sometimes we see them and sometimes we don't, and sometimes they retired and we haven't seen them for 20 years. But we want to bring everybody in together. So throwing out some names, and yes, they are names from the American market because that's the market I grew up in and I know the people's names in. So C.G. Wallace, Clive Edgar, J.C. Zachary, Donald Zachary, L.W. Hardy. These are all giants in the American turquoise community, and they've all passed. And to bring that point even finer, has anybody heard that Jim Elquist passed away last week? The owner out at Blue Jim, the last one. So as our industry is slowly aging, we are starting to have the people who have this knowledge and information no longer be accessible. So the time to have a conference like this and start to glean that information is now, not to wait another 20, 30, 40 years and have more people no longer accessible to glean from what they have learned over their decades of experience. We also want to showcase turquoise. This is the time for turquoise to show off. As we work through the greater vision for the next 5 years, these events and activities are really designed to showcase the turquoise industry to the world. Turquoise has some of the greatest people in the world. Incredible artistry, insight, vision, and skill are found in those calling turquoise their home. And then, of course, we want to have this be a turquoise university of type, so that people can come and learn about turquoise and gain more knowledge in it to move on and to bigger and greater things in the turquoise industry. And take it to places that none of us ever thought possible. So the first category in here is going to be classes and courses. The classes offered at Turquoise United can be as numerous as the colors of turquoise. Classes in every specialty, classes in lapidary styles and techniques from all over the world, classes in how to start collecting turquoise, how to accurately handle your parents' estate. All of those things could be part of a 3-hour class to give the basic information to succeed. The courses would be more like a college-style program. They would be designed to take multiple segments over the span of several Turquoise Uniteds, designed to deep dive into just about any information, but not just the information, but to do training on the information, learning and perfecting the skills to use in the turquoise industry. So the first course that we are going to be doing next year, we will be having a Turquoise Collecting 101. The Turquoise Collecting 101 is going to be an introductory course into collecting turquoise. It'll discuss how to start a collection, how to decide what to collect, how to access those items that you're interested in collecting, and how to catalog the information about each piece in your collection. And then over the years, the next year after that, you would have Turquoise Collecting 102, and that would get a little bit deeper into that concept of collecting. And as you get deeper and deeper, you would actually start to train our next generation of turquoise collectors. This would not only be a multi-year course, but a mentorship program to develop and grow the next collectors in the industry. In short, classes and courses would be like a turquoise university. Now, Tao, how many different subjects and courses do you think we could come up with related to turquoise?
Endless.
Just one or two?
Oh, I don't think there's a number
Right.
that you can use.
The information that we can have is endless because the possibilities in turquoise are endless. The class that we're going to have next year is going to be a lapidary class. It'll go through different styles of lapidary from around the world to show people how to cut the different styles and a little bit of their histories. Then the symposium tonight is the first of what we hope to be many different symposiums. The symposiums are designed to be the scholarly side of Turquoise United, a presentation that is based on research and study. This may mean presenting findings of a study or current research on an ongoing study, or maybe a comparison of two different studies, how they did it, their methodology, and what their outcomes are, and explaining why they got to two different conclusions. Or that you can do two different studies and get to the same conclusion. We ultimately would like to have a symposium session in each specialty each year, allowing attendees to find information on every subject related to turquoise. A lapidary session could be held on the history of turquoise cutting styles, or a study on the positives and negatives of backing turquoise, or the benefits to different types of equipment. An appraiser session could be about the price differences for turquoise from one country to the next, or about regulations around grading and appraising turquoise, or the possibilities are endless. Some subjects are more interesting to attendees than others, of course. We had 95 people register for the symposium this year. We have 100 seats in the room. There are more than 5 empty chairs out there. I don't know if anybody has noticed, because we have 2 sessions. So the empty chairs are more interested in Dad's conversation tomorrow than mine tonight. And I expect at least 5 of you to not come tomorrow, okay? Make me feel a little better about myself. Okay. So because of this, and also to create more interest and enthusiasm for potential presenters, they would be proposing their subjects, and we would leave it up to the attendees to vote on their favorite sessions for that year. A few years ago, my family, my sister and I and my dad, we all presented at a night called Ignite New Mexico. It kind of predated what TED Talks are. So everybody who wanted to present got 5 minutes to present on whatever subject you wanted, but you had to submit a synopsis of what you were going to talk about, and then everybody voted on what they wanted to hear about. And they had 20 presentations that night. And so we want to do the same kind of concept. People who want to present at the symposium would make a proposal, and then everybody coming would be interested in certain ones and vote for those to be what is presented at the symposium. Then the Tucson Gym Show, Hong Kong, and even Quartzsite. You can find Turquoise at all of these shows. Even some shows that are not designed for Turquoise to be sold. Like next week at the Santa Fe Indian Market, you will find cabbed turquoise and rough turquoise available for sale. That's a jewelry show. It's not designed for us to be selling turquoise. But you can still find turquoise dealers and stone dealers there. But none of those shows are specifically designed for the gemstone turquoise. The Turquoise United Gems Show is specifically designed around turquoise. This year we decided to keep the registration small to start and build the concept. Over the next few years, we expect the show to grow in both attendees and dealers. We will continue with this show style for the next year. Turquoise only, and any art has to be 95% focused on the turquoise. Then in 2024, we will open the doors to suppliers of turquoise-related equipment. For lapidary equipment, testing equipment, there are different ways to bring in the equipment dealers that intrigue and bring in the turquoise hobbyists also. So we're trying to grow the turquoise-related aspects to the gym show. Let's see. I went somewhere. Lapidary equipment that is used for turquoise, or even fixing the lapidary equipment. One of our dealers was going to bring his equipment to cut in his booth today and tomorrow. Unfortunately, the week before he left his house, he blew out his motor to his lapidary equipment and wasn't able to bring it. If we had lapidary equipment dealers at the gym show, that wouldn't be a problem. He'd be able to get a new motor or get new wheels or get new polishing compound at the gym show. Having access to this equipment would have changed his whole weekend. The hardness of the stones are measured using the Mohs hardness scale. Dealers may bring testing equipment like that or even microscopes. In 2025, we will introduce a special area for collectors to sell their collections, or people to sell their mother's collection that they have no idea what to do with. This will be an area to be able to have a setup to get through collections of merchandise that is not on the market today. We will be repatriating, in that sense, turquoise that has not been on the market for 50, 100, 500 years, depending on how many hands that collection has just worked down through the generations. Then in 2026, we will start to open it up for a place for jewelers and other artisans to sell their crafts as well. Most consumers relate turquoise to an in-use product of jewelry. It is easy to bring in all of the jewelers. It is very simple. We click a switch and we can get several of them to the show, and there will be quite a few customers that come for it. But if we flip that switch, the jewelry will take over the gym show faster than the turquoise can lay its place. So we're trying to lay the foundation for the stone first, and then we'll bring in the jewelry in a few years once the foundation is laid for the stone. The gem show has a very bright future ahead of it as we go through year by year building. The auction. Who made it to the auction last night? And did you have fun? And did you buy anything? No? You tried really hard. That dollar was just burning a hole in your pocket. So the auction will be a little different than we expect over the next few years. If you didn't notice, we tried to have fun with it last night. This year, the museum put up almost all of the auction items, with the exception of that amazing bracelet from G.L. Miller. The reason that the museum put up the items was to get the ball rolling. But over the next few years, we want the auction to be supplied by collectors for the purpose of giving them access to some of the top buyers in the world. If we can bring in the top buyers, then who wouldn't want to sell their piece of turquoise with all of the top collectors in the world arguing over how much they want to pay for it? The auction will not only be an amazing tool for selling some incredible turquoise, but I think that if we set it up correctly, the auction could even set a new standardized pricing for turquoise around the world. Last night we had a piece of Tyrone turquoise that sold for over what market value would say that it is worth, which means that we now have a new price point for Tyrone turquoise. As we bring in the collectors from around the world, and as we bring in the highest grade turquoise from around the world to put into the auction, then each and every year we will have a new price point as a benchmark to say, I am selling this for either below auction price or above, but everybody in the market will know what the going rate is at each auction every year, if we set it up correctly. Then we could also do VIP events. We all know that everyone here is extremely important. The events and parties that are possible for VIPs are endless. So at the gala last night, we had some incredible people come to the gala. As the future continues with the galas, I see themed galas, maybe a masquerade for fun one year, or a turquoise mystery party. There can be different themes from year to year. Then we could also do tours, depending on where Turquoise United is at each year, and we'll get into locations in a little bit. But we could do tours of different mining sites, different lapidary facilities, jewelry manufacturing locations. There are different tours that VIPs could go on. But tonight, I'm going to camp out on what I think is actually one of the coolest VIPs activities, and that's the fashion show. So fashion shows are kind of cool, and we can all understand a turquoise jewelry fashion show. And we will absolutely have a jewelry category. But think about the other kinds of fashion that turquoise can inspire. We had a gala last night, so the VIP events are already going. So in the different types of fashion, we could have a ball gown competition inspired by Pilot Mountain turquoise. So all of the ball gowns would be various different shades of green, blue, browns, and you could actually design out your dress based off of a specific turquoise mine. Or if we were to do sunglasses and bring in the Ray-Bans company and different sunglass groups to do the same thing in designing sunglasses around turquoise. There was a comment that we made a few years ago that it would be really cool to take a really good picture of a vein of turquoise in the host rock and then turn that vein into the pinstripes on a men's dress shirt. The fashion that we could design around turquoise, not just in jewelry, the shows could not only bring in fashion designers from New York, Paris, and Milan, but we could also have some really cool outfits to wear. So, like I said, the gala happened last night, so we're already doing the VIP events, but we hope to grow them over the next few years. Another big thing for showing off is competitions. Now, if I remember correctly, Ty, on your Instagram page, it says that you have the best cutting in the Southwest. Is that right?
I don't know if it says that verbatim.
Now, wouldn't it be cool to bring your cutting and put it against not only other cutters in the area, but the Persians, the Chinese manufacturing, and all of the different cutters around the globe, and see not only the different styles and techniques, but the amazing quality of those styles and techniques. Abby, you have some incredible stones in your collection. Do you know how they compare to other collections? Of ones you've seen?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It'd be more fun to see them all up close.
So if we bring in a bunch of the different collections and different people who say, I have the absolute best stone of blue gem turquoise in the world. Well, there's 40 of you who say that, so why don't you all show up on the same day and we'll compare them and see who's right. Kind of cool. So we would have competitions. Mark, as an appraiser, your job is to not only value something, but in order to value it, a lot of times you have to be able to identify it, right? So that is an amazing and invaluable skill in our industry.
And challenging.
Absolutely. So if we were to pull in all of the people, and we've all heard them in every gift shop you walk into, well, of course, I know exactly what you're wearing, ma'am. If we pull in and have all of the different people in a room, and we lay out 100 stones and say, go ahead, identify all of them. Not only would that be fun and challenging, but as a spectator, it could be very entertaining. What we want to do is take these skills of cutting turquoise well, collecting incredible pieces, or even identifying a piece of turquoise, and turn it into something like the Olympics. The Olympics were originally skills and practices that were needed at that time in history. And then some of those skills and practices evolved into spectator sports. That's what we would like to start setting up now. Competing in skills and disciplines to transform these jobs into something more competitive in a fun way. Not, this is my competitor, don't talk to him. In a fun and entertaining way. And there are countless competitions that could be created. We could even have a competition. There is an art form to developing an imitation to turquoise. Because if you imitate the look of it, that's great. But what about the chemistry? If you can imitate the chemistry, does it look right? If you can do that, does it have the right weight to it? If you can do that, does it have the right feel to it? There are a lot of different categories that you're choosing of which part you want to replicate of the stone. So one of the ideas that I think would be really cool is to pull out a stone each year, a natural stone, and put it out for anybody who would like to try to imitate it by next year. And whoever can bring back the most perfect copy of it wins. Not only does that completely intrigue most people, but it showcases the incredible knowledge and skill that it takes to build these products. And as we continue in the industry, the imitations and the products that people like Mike Budick make are incredible pieces. But in our world and with our consumers, part of the fear of buying one of those is the boogeyman effect. I don't know anything about it, and it scares me. Well, if we can do a competition to talk about the details of how you actually do something like that, that would help take away that boogeyman effect. And then we have a product on the market that is valid if represented correctly. So there are different ways to create spectator sports and spectator entertainment through competition that bring in different people from our industry, and Turquoise really does get to show off. If done right, the competitions will not only elevate the level of skill for each discipline, but like I said, sports spectators and crowds watching turquoise cutting competitions, grading contests, or the best stone event would be an incredible outreach tool to grow our turquoise community. Next year, we are going to do a collection competition. It'll be on individual stones. So we're going to do best of. Tomorrow night, there is a grading system being introduced. So based off of those grading standards, who has the best stone from any mine? The best stone of turquoise. And then we would do the best stone from certain mines. We would have, it's not on my page, so I was hoping it was on, somebody had the right page open. Let's see. I lied. It's on the wrong page. So next year, we're going to have a number 8 competition, Bisbee, Lander Blue, Young Guy C, and King's Manasseh. If you own any stones that you think are killer from one of those mines, bring them next year, and we'll see exactly how killer they actually are. And you could walk away with not only a certificate, but maybe a cash prize. So we want to create something that is fun and entertaining. Then we would have a Turquoise Hall of Fame. So C.G. Wallace, Doc Wilson, J.W. Edgar, L.W. Hardy, Jimmy Zachary, J.C. Zachary, Russell Twyford, Philip Chambliss, Doug Magnus, Oprah, John Wayne. All of these different people are famous in one area or another, and you can relate them to turquoise. John Wayne and Oprah would be, they wore or wear turquoise, and it becomes popular in culture, and how that affects the turquoise industry is something that could be something we want to recognize. There are some incredible people that have done some incredible things in turquoise, or who impact the turquoise industry. Their effect should be recognized and celebrated. We have started the process for the first inductee class to be in 2023. We will have a way to nominate people soon, and you can actually work through different places and different people that play a part in our industry and brought us to where we are. That could be a person, a culture, a company. There are different ways to nominate, and we're going to slowly figure out exactly what the criteria is, and then we would have a committee to vote on who actually makes it into the Hall of Fame each year. Now, Shariar, those are all American people because those are the ones I know. But would you say that there are some giants in the world of Iranian turquoise that should be recognized in a Hall of Fame?
Yes, they are.
So not only who I can think of, but as we bring in people from around the world, we will actually slowly build the world of turquoise into a Hall of Fame to not only recognize the history that turquoise has had and the people that have impacted it, but learn from it, grow from it, and use those people to build us to be better. Then I have some really weird questions. So, Mike, what would happen to the turquoise industry if every single mine around the world closed tomorrow? Permanently?
I would become very wealthy. You would have no choice but to buy an imitation. And what you had would be worth a lot of money. You know, all turquoise would be worth a fortune.
That's the easy answer, right?
That's the easy answer.
If I gave you a year to prepare, could you come back with a more complex answer that was more detailed?
Probably.
I couldn't. Give me a year, I'll say the exact same thing I said right now.
Let me think about it for a year, and I'll come back and we'll talk.
Shane, I grew up in 4-H with your kids. And I know you have a heart for the next generation because you had a heart for me when we were in the 4-H barn. How do we engage the next generation in the turquoise industry?
I think we have to embrace the technology. You have to reach out to influencers and the people that speak their language. You know, you have to meet them where they are. So you're going to have to go out into, social media and educate them that way. I mean, I look at the audience here, and you're all very wonderful, very attractive people, but most of us in this room have gray hair. And if we want to grow this industry and we want
They have
things
bottles
to evolve,
for that.
we have to find a way to make contact with those people and get them in the room. And that's the thing with any industry. That's what all businesses they're fumbling around with right now.
So, same concept. If I gave you a year to figure out how you would do that, could you come back with a plan, essentially, of how our industry could engage the next generation?
Absolutely. I have to do that with my own business on a regular basis. So, if we're not doing that, then we're not surviving.
There's a lot of different questions that are multifaceted, and even though we can come up with a relatively simple answer on the fly, and it be a good answer on the fly, there are a lot of other details that could play into that conversation, depending on who you ask, what their perspective is, and what their experience is. So, because of that, I would like to start a discussion group meeting each year called Think Tanks, where we ask outrageous, hypothetical questions, things that may or may not ever happen, on things that we could learn from that conversation. If we were to say, every single turquoise mine, past, present, and future, closes tomorrow permanently, how does that affect our industry? And then we were to tie that in with another question and say, how do we embrace the internet and grow our industry into that over the next 5 years? If we would have had both of those conversations 15 years ago, how much better do you think all of us would have survived the last 2 years? Supply chain issues changed with production, with how access to the production from the mines, and we also all had to figure out, since we can't let anybody into our building, how do we sell them anything? All of those things we could have extrapolated from conversations that we had several years ago. And it would be just from learning from random conversations. Not only would we learn from something that is in the discussion, but we could learn something just by watching the discussion happen. So what I want to do is bring in a panel like this that each one has taken a year to research a specific subject. And each of them would come in with their different perspective to talk about how we engage the next generation, what happens if we can't find any more turquoise. Did anybody know that there's not very much land or blue turquoise out there? If they would have had that conversation when they were starting to sell it, they probably would have kept some of it and said, we might run out someday. So those kinds of conversations will help grow us. This is a concept that when I explained it to my dad and said, this is what I want to do, his response was, I have no idea how to even wrap my mind around what you just said. So because of that, we're pushing that one out several years. We're not doing that next year because we have to actually develop the concept and how it would happen in the details because it is such a hypothetical concept in what is being done. We have to actually develop the details. Then part of that, I have gone through several different things tonight. Has anybody fallen asleep yet? No? Just me? Okay, cool. So there's a lot of different parts to Turquoise United over the next few years. And the next part of that is I have been trying very hard to get everything ready for this year. I'm running a little low on sleep over the last month, trying to get all of it done all on my own and within our family, and the few people that are doing different parts of it has been a little exhausting. So not only will we need help to get the conference to run each year, but Turquoise United is not my conference. Turquoise United, as the director of the Albuquerque Convention Center has said, they say, whenever anybody says, he's the director of the Albuquerque Convention Center, he says, no, I am the director of your Albuquerque Convention Center. This is not my conference. This is not the Turquoise Museum conference. This is your conference. We want everybody to participate in structuring and building this conference for the future. So we will start having committees that plan and host different events at the annual conference, an auction committee, a symposium committee, and a committee to run the gym show. It will take all of us to really make this into what it could be. We also want to use the concept of uniting the industry beyond this weekend. So we will be instituting individual clubs for each specialty, not just to bring everyone together, but the clubs will be the grassroots side of Turquoise United. Each club will have different rules about membership. So if we talk about the Miners Club, you saw a picture of me mining when I was little. I've been to about 30 different turquoise mines. I've mined 30, 40 different times. I'm not a miner. I have done mining. I am not a miner. I've cut turquoise since I was 9. I might have cut maybe 3 pounds of turquoise in my life. Ty, what'd you cut last week?
I finished about 20,000 carats.
Yeah, I'm not a cutter either. So there are different qualifications to get into the different groups that make sure that the people who are in them have the actual knowledge on their personal first-hand basis to know what the club is actually discussing and to build the club to be the farther in history. Each club, like I said, will have different rules, but each club not only will be a club, but each one will send a representative to sit on the Turquoise United Board of Directors. Like I said, this is not my conference. I planned it this year, but we are hoping to have everybody help plan it for years to come. So we will have a board of directors to run Turquoise United, and because it's supposed to represent the entire industry, as we develop industry groups based off of each specialty, each of those clubs will send one representative to sit on the board of directors so that that part of the industry has their voice heard. This event is for the industry and by the industry. Now, we love Albuquerque. We have beautiful weather. This is an amazing facility, and we've got killer mountains, especially at sunset. But we all know that Turquoise is an international gym. There's a chance that this conference could move, depending on the different bids from different places in the world. So if we were to go to Las Vegas, one, they've got some amazing facilities in Las Vegas. But two, they are relatively nearby Tonopah. So we could have tours that could go out to different mine sites in and around Tonopah. Or if we were to go to Carlsbad, there might be a chance, depending on who we talk to, that we could potentially get a tour of the GIA facility. And so there are different places that have different things to offer to Turquoise United. So each year, that would be one of the decisions that the board of directors would have to make, is where is the conference going to be next year? Next year, it's in Albuquerque, because we don't have all of the structure set up. But that would be part of the conversation, is where do we move it? We could even go international. If we were to go to Tokyo, Japan has one of the most vibrant and rich collecting communities in the world for turquoise. And they've got, one, incredible collections, and two, incredible locations of where those people bought their turquoise. So touring Japan's turquoise areas and their different facilities to buy and make turquoise art and supply the market would be an incredible field trip from the conference. So we could travel depending on what happens each year. And then we also, I don't have any money, so next year and the years to follow, we're going to start having to find different funding. There are a lot of different things that we have talked about doing. If we're going to have 40 different competitions and 200 symposium sessions and 1.5 million people come to a conference, those are all exaggerations in case you didn't notice. If we're going to do that, then we have to be able to fund what we're doing. So part of the funding of it would be sponsorships. If you are a lapidary equipment supplier, you would be out of your mind to not sponsor the lapidary cutting competition. And so you get your marketing, and the competition gets funded so that there can be awards and a facility to be able to cut and polish the stones for the competition. Same thing if you are an institution designed around education. Why would you not have everything you could possibly want to do around supporting the classes and the courses at Turquoise United? That has everything to do with building the education structure to our future in the industry. So we'll slowly start building in some sponsorships. The auction each year will, like I said, people will be putting in their own pieces, but those pieces, the person who put the piece into the auction gets the money, but the conference, the Turquoise United, would take a commission, a portion of that, and that would go into the funding. And as the gym show grows and builds, those vendor fees for the booths would also help fund Turquoise United. There are a lot of different ways that we can figure out funding it, not to make money, but to have it work each year. It's about providing a space And in case you haven't noticed, space and everything else is getting more expensive. So we will slowly try to figure out some funding for it. So let's talk about Turquoise United 2023. So next year, like I said, we will be here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It'll be this weekend again, which are the dates of August 10th through the 12th. And the title sponsor will be the Turquoise Museum. And with other sponsors to be named later. And we will slowly update the Turquoise United website with details as they slowly become available. We'll do a gym show again. Like I said, this gym show will have the same concept as this year, turquoise only, and whatever is sold has to be 95% stone. Anything else is just to encase or accentuate the stone, but 95% is stone. This symposium, we will have several different lectures next year and panel discussions. One of those will be a lecture by Dr. Virgil Luth and Jodan Lowry on the theory of fingerprinting turquoise. Other topics will be submitted starting November 1st, and we will start selecting panelists around March. And so we can slowly start building. Like I said, they're going to talk about fingerprinting, the theory of being able to test a stone chemically and tell which turquoise mine it came from. Virgil, if anybody doesn't know, Virgil Luth was the state mineralogist here in New Mexico for many years. He is the world's leading expert in jarosite. Before he retired, his last lecture was on jarosite on Mars to NASA. And he's very proud to say that was the last lecture he gave. And then we convinced him to come next year and give another one. So that'll be what they're going to talk about. The auction, we are going to hopefully be able to bring in pieces from different collectors and build what that auction is supposed to become. Like I said, we're going to do the first class of the Turquoise Hall of Fame, and we will have an inductee ceremony and potentially a party following the ceremony. We're going to have competitions. Like I said, we're going to have best highest grade stone in any mine, and the highest grade stone from number 8, Bisbee, Lander Blue, Young Guy C, and Kings Manasseh. Those will be throughout the weekend. And then courses that will be offered and classes, we will do Collecting 101 and start building that new class of collectors. We will also have a lapidary class on lapidary techniques from around the world. And it'll be, another one will also be Turquoise 101, which will be just, here's all of the basics to turquoise. Thanks for coming. Just for those beginning consumers that are interested but haven't really got into the industry. And so we'll give them the basics so that they can go out and make their mark on our industry. And we will start our club meetings next year. So we're going to be looking for people to organize the clubs and to lead that first set. And we'll elect the board members next year, the elected leadership for each club, and then the board members from those clubs to the board of directors. That'll all happen next year. So if you're interested in participating in the formation of the different clubs, let us know later. We'll slowly start forming those over the next few months. And we are looking forward to seeing how this grows over the next 5 years. Turquoise is an incredible gemstone with amazing people, and we are very, very excited to partner with each and every one of you. And we can't wait to see where this goes.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. I only fell asleep once, so that was terrific. No, it was great. Isn't this guy so shy? You know, if he would only come out of his shell a little bit, you know, he'd be terrific. No, great job. Great job for sure.
Thank you.
Especially, yeah, let's hear it for Jacob. And especially for me, I'm a total outsider to this. To hear all this, and you know, I'm sure everybody's mind is racing here of other ideas and things that you have, and that's kind of where we're at with a panel discussion that will open up here, and we'll start with Doug with the miners. And what do you think about the 5-year vision for Turquoise United? What are some of the things that you kind of saw in what Jacob's presentation?
I see a great and vast vision that obviously has many components, and I believe there's a necessity, a certain amount of necessity for many of the points and suggestions and concepts, which I do believe could have very positive effects on the overall topic and subject. And clarity is lacking in any kind of cohesive reality regarding Turquoise. And I believe that it's going to be a very interesting and ongoing challenge to pull all of that together and formulate how to focus on the main objectives of the overall plan or thoughts on the subject, but that ultimately that's the way things get done. You start off with grand visions and working closely with people. You slowly bring it into the reality and focus it down to its essence, and especially perhaps proceed in a step-by-step fashion. I honestly really don't know. This is kind of, I only read the program here just last night. I think it's very grand in its scope, but that it's achievable if the leadership and the especially the main objectives, whichever of these start at the top, it is achievable. And I would like to see many of these goals come to pass. So I think it's a very exciting program that has been proposed here. And Jacob has done a really wonderful job of presenting the propositions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Jacob, you brought up sponsorships. And again, I'm probably going to say some dumb things because I'm a total outsider. But
Yes, Brandon, we'll take your money.
that just with the sponsorships, not just from the gym industry. I mean, people that collect Turquoise, that's an affluent customer base, right? More affluent than, other things that folks buy. And that's something outside of the industry companies will want to get in front of, people that have money to spend on a lot of different things, and in particular Turquoise. Does anybody have any thoughts maybe on that with sponsorship moving forward and things, companies that may want to get in front of this? Is, of course, this is on the just beginning at this point. Abby, you're a collector. It might be something that
Well,
you have some input in.
not as much, I don't have as much knowledge for the corporations, but singular collectors, there's millions that would be happy and excited. I think there's just what's wonderful is that we have grand enthusiasm with this group, and I think we have a lot of enthusiasm with the collectors, and there is a young group of collectors that are
Yeah.
starting, and they all start off at different places.
Uh-huh.
You know, some go for the gusto and big items, and some are starting smaller. But
Yeah.
as we teach them, their collections grow, and the interest grows, and it gets shared. And that's what this is all about. It's all starting that conversation,
Yeah.
and it grows. It grows very easily that way. And along with marketing, I think we can. I think as a bigger group, and we'll just grow the group. It's bound for success.
Yeah, and with the affluency of people that do purchase Turquoise, I mean, you're in the future to move the symposium or Turquoise United around. And those are people that like to travel, so definitely thinking worldwide with this through the years.
But they have a place also that they can trust, and
Yeah.
a place that they can go that is a community and a group that will represent honestly
Yeah.
and properly.
Yeah. Now, also you had the Turquoise University, and we're interested in Dr. Tao and what maybe she thinks about that with her scientific background with the education and getting more people involved, or folks that do want to learn about it, giving them the tools to actually do that.
Well, and as Doug said, actually, this is a great plan, but and for the funding and the how to pull people together each year after year, we need to do it step by step. But education definitely is one channel. I mean, if we look at, I've been to many trade shows and also specialized event like this. So things like in Lightning Ridge, they have the Opal event every year. So education is, to me, at least one channel that you can, if your course content is really attractive and useful, practical for the Turquoise trade participants, you will get some traction there, and they pay for the course. That's at least one way you can get some funding through that. But course making is not easy, as my own experience. Any course, even short, very short courses, a couple hours, that's a challenge starting from zero. And you have objectives and all these production, also a resource that you need. But you know, my own experience, just for the past 2 days, so how we got here, actually, Joe Dan reached out to us, and we're here, you know, maybe me and Aaron, we cannot claim ourselves as the Turquoise experts. We're here actually to learn. We're, even we say GIA, we're the authority of gemology. We cannot stop learning. So things like turquoise, one single gem, we want to get more in-depth knowledge. So I think that's always a drive for people who really want to learn. And if they feel the course helps with their career, with their daily job, that's a sell for sure.
I just want will Turquoise University field a football team next year? And they will probably be able to beat the Lobos if they do.
Let's start with a basketball team.
And Joe Dan can be the lead.
Shane, let's talk about artist and you as a jewelry artist. How do you think the Turquoise United would affect your craft and your way of life? Do you see new avenues here that you could pursue, you and other artists?
From an artist perspective, over the last 30 years, one of the biggest challenges I've had is learning what the difference is between good, better, and best turquoise. It's been a continuous learning process. So what we've been talking about as far as the educational component is really important to artists, because when you come into the industry initially, if you're going to work with Turquoise, if you don't have any knowledge about it, then you're as susceptible as your client base. And it's important that what you get in the beginning is good, and you learn as much as you can, because that establishes the foundation. If you don't start with good stuff, then it makes what you're doing overall more challenging. And as an artist, it's also, I have a different perspective in that I'm creating a product that is based on my creativity. Turquoise supports that for me individually. That's how I utilize it. But for other artists, the Turquoise is the reason why they create. They're in this local area, in this community, there's pueblos around here, and there are artisans that are producing turquoise jewelry and stuff because it's part of their everyday life, it's part of ceremony, it's part of tradition. So you can call them artists, but for them, the turquoise is a life way. And so there's many different ways to look at it. And oftentimes we're looking at it from the consumer perspective, and who's buying what, and how do we market that and everything. But turquoise, and we have people from all over the world that can speak this same issue, turquoise goes beyond just that consumerism. There's much more to it. And I think that's something that also needs to be incorporated into the educational components. And then to go back to what I mentioned before, we have to get young people engaged and figure out how to tap into why they're interested and give them exposure and opportunity.
Yeah. Video games. Turquoise United video game. How about that?
Turquoise Minecraft.
Here's the thing, with kids and getting them interested, or kids or younger people, it's hands-on stuff, things that they can do. And, from what we've heard, it looks like that's the way we're moving here.
Yeah, hands-on is definitely the way to go. I mean, like Jacob mentioned, my kids and he grew up in 4-H together, and 4-H is very hands-on, it's very active, and you have activities, and at the end of the day, the kids don't realize they're learning things.
Yeah.
They don't realize they're developing these skills. So that's something that we can also think about, I think, because I know that I bought my first piece of turquoise jewelry probably when I was 7 years old. I can't tell you why. I know it was a ring, and I know I had to save my allowance to buy it, and I did, and it just, it's a weird deal, but all of us are affected differently. And now I don't even wear jewelry. Yeah. So it's an irony. I make jewelry, but I don't wear it.
You haven't saved enough of your allowance, is that?
No, I haven't. That's because I spend it all on turquoise.
And the kids.
Now, with Ty and Jacob, and you talked about this a little bit, the organized competitions. How do you think that is? That would help in selling products like yours?
I think if people got a chance to actually watch a competition between, say, Lapidaris or however you want to, whatever competition you want to do, I think that'll bring interest in, and people will get a better understanding of what it is you do, how complex it is, how hard it is, and all the steps that are involved to get it, the finished product out. And I think that people would they would very much so enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's, people would want to watch that too. People that are interested, it's something, as you're kind of talking about this, Jacob, I thought of, what lumber sports are? It's like the steel, the chainsaws. That's the word. Yeah. They go and they cut the stuff up, and who would ever think that people would want to watch somebody do that, let alone pay money to go see that? But there's thing, and I think this is the same with what you guys do, and with turquoise. There's a market for that. People would want to go and see it.
Let's just hope that the people who are coming to watch turquoise cutting aren't wanting to watch Ty cut his finger off like why all of us watch chainsaw sports.
I think we'll be all right.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, what do you think of the concept of standardizing and calibrating the turquoise industry? And I think we're going to hear more about that tomorrow night too.
I believe that it is the most important part, is education. Letting people know that an imitation is not the boogeyman. We're not out to steal everyone's money and, flood the industry with cheap crap, some would say. There's a place for everything, and natural turquoise is limited. There's only so much of it in the world, and if you were to throw out everything beyond natural, you could not even fill an order for QVC. A small order you could not fill, especially if they tell you to match the stones, which is a big problem. Stabilization must exist because way over 90% of the turquoise in the world, I'm sure, has been stabilized. Otherwise, you're just going to throw it away. It's worthless. The affordability. Not everyone can afford G.L. Miller's bracelet last night. It's beautiful. Very expensive. Not everybody is going to throw $2,000 down, which is a low price. We know. I think the value was almost $7,000. That's for some people that's unattainable. They'll never see it. They'll never have it. So you have to have imitations. You have to have imitations, and I strive to make the best imitation that I can. I know my friend Russ Twyford is the same. What he does is brilliant. His True Stone, it's a brilliant product, and we're not out to, hey, what do you think of this? Give me some money and out the door. No, it's a business and it has a purpose. I was once asked to make 660,000 stones for an order for QVC for a company, and I had 45 days. You're not going to make 660,000 stones in 45 days. It's impossible.
So did you have Russ do it?
Russ did it for me. We chipped up turquoise, and we used a molding system, and I'm sure everyone's familiar with chip inlay. We just made the stones, domed, about size of an 8 by 10 millimeter, circle, heart, square, coral lapis, and denim lapis. And I did it in 30 days, saved the order, or the company would have been fined. QVC wouldn't have it. It was a TSV, today's special value. And we were able to put out 660,000 stones in 30 days. That's from crushing it. That has to exist. And I'm natural. I buy my wife beautiful natural turquoise pieces. She also wears some of my imitations when she's cleaning the house and stuff. But if someone's got to see it, oh, no, she wears the nice stuff. There's a place for everything. And if you talk about it and you educate people, it's okay. It's okay. It's not going to take away from anybody's jewelry. It's not going to, it's okay to have an imitation. And I could just imagine what Russ's RT Research, what his company cost him. I know what mine did, and I can only imagine because he's 5 times, 10 times the size of my company, and I guarantee you he's got a fortune involved in making a stone to imitate turquoise. And we do other stones too, but it has a place, and I think that education is got to be the foremost and most important part, that it's okay, that it's not something to be scared of.
Well, Doug, what do you think of the club's idea and how the board would have a member from each specialty? What do you kind of gather from that?
I don't even know how to push the buttons. The thing is, I personally don't join much of anything. So I can't really wrap my head around the concept of a club because almost everything I do is strictly one of a kind. I have some exceptions in my past in jewelry making and design. But because of the way I work, virtually everything is initiated with a design, and it becomes a piece of work that I don't even really anticipate reproducing in any volume. So I'm really not the right person to ask about the club concept, but I think they probably have their places. I'm not quite sure specifically, though, how I would approach that. But it may be a way of educating. It may possibly be a very good way of educating, especially through social media and that sort of thing. Intriguing idea. It is an intriguing idea.
Mark, what do you think about taking the show on the road, moving the Turquoise United around from time to time or through the years?
Well, I think moving it around is good, but if I can answer a question you're not
Sure.
asking.
Yeah.
What I think has great value in the appraising business, particularly for Indian art and Indian jewelry specifically, you have these national appraisal organizations, and I've looked at some of the exams they give for the master level in Indian art, and it's pathetic. I looked at it about 15 years ago, and besides being insanely expensive, the focus was almost entirely on Plains Indian beadwork, which I don't touch. And they need help. So having this organization begin to create standards and so forth, and having these classes, then they can be approached and saying, if you want to certify these people in this area, you need to require them to take these classes because they're not offering them. And they need to be offered out there for anybody who is going to hold themselves forth as an appraiser of turquoise jewelry.
All right, Shalahar, what do you think of the symposium aspects of all this? Was there something that you took away from this that was pretty exciting?
Yes, I did actually a great deal. But I want to state something. This is what we have here is a great thing. It's a start, and you're halfway there. And this is my personal opinion, I think. I wish I could have this back in my home country. Unfortunately, because all the red tapes, restrictions, politics, and so many other red tapes or things, it's not possible. So that's unfortunate. But so I'm very appreciative to be a part of this, and I think we have something really, really special here. And I'm grateful to be a part of it, and I think I can be a part of the, speaking for myself, future funding. I'll be more than happy to donate, or give whatever I have to give. Unfortunately, back in my country, where you guys, most of you know that there's a lot of great turquoise coming from there, is people are not thinking about educating one another like how we have it here. It's mostly the finance part of it, due to, as I said, the situation that is going on. So all I can say is this is great. This is really great. It's a beginning, but we're already halfway there. So
very good. Thank you,
that's all I
sir.
have. Oh,
Yeah. Is there anybody else that wants to add something that you took away from tonight? Jacob?
One of the coolest things to me for tonight is having a 27-year-old kid be able to talk to amazing people in our industry and actually be able to have real conversations because of the platform that we have laid out. And part of building into that next generation, I think if that continues, that will help grow the next grouping of turquoise industry leaders, because we don't feel ostracized because we don't have gray hair.
Got to pass the torch at some point, right?
So I really appreciate all of you guys coming and letting me talk and not picking on me too much.
All right, it's been a great night. Yeah, a hand for our panel and Jacob, the great presentation tonight. So the gym show starts again tomorrow, 10 o'clock, right? And there's a panel identifications at 11, question and answer session at 2 p.m. And don't forget, tomorrow night, you can learn about the turquoise grading system being introduced by Joe Dan Lowry. How about that? Yeah. All right. We have anything else? All right. Phil, how long do we have the room for?
About 5 more minutes.
So we
No,
can't.
We have the room for a little while.
Okay, yeah. So feel free to hang out and talk for a while, and when they start cleaning up in here, you'll know that it's time to head up. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Easy enough, but